You're listening to the Angela Henderson Online Business Show, episode 387. Hey there, you amazing human, and welcome to the Angela Henderson Online Business Show, the podcast that is designed for female entrepreneurs who want to make more money in a way that is in alignment for them. If you're looking for practical advice, proven strategies, and expert insights to help you navigate the challenges of growing your business, then you've come to the right place. Welcome, my friend. I am your host, Angela Henderson, a proud Canadian living in beautiful Australia, and I'm a business coach, consultant, and strategist who has helped thousands of women around the world build successful businesses. Through solo episodes and interviews with successful business owners, industry experts, and thought leaders, you'll get insider insights into what it takes to succeed in today's digital age. Whether you're struggling to scale your business, looking for ways to boost your productivity, or seeking ways to overcome the challenges of being an entrepreneur, this show has everything you need to succeed and more. So subscribe, pop your headphones on, and get ready to creating the business and life you deserve today by allowing the Angela Henderson Online Business Show help you create a winning strategy, develop the right mindset, and build lasting wealth. Hey, you amazing human, and welcome back to another awesome podcast episode. I hope you're having a glorious day, no matter where you are in the world. At time of recording, it is raining here in beautiful Brisbane, but the sound of the rain is absolutely magical, and it makes me smile. Now, today we are diving into another exciting episode that is packed with actionable insights and expert advice from my guest and good friend, the amazing Rana, who is the go-to when it comes to LinkedIn. So if you have been wondering how to turn your LinkedIn presence into a consistent source of high quality leads and sales, then today you're going to want to get your notebooks and pens out because it is going to be an epic episode. We're going to talk about what's working for LinkedIn now, the latest trends, best practices, proven strategies, and so much more. Again, you don't want to miss this episode if you've been thinking about LinkedIn, or even if you've been using LinkedIn but haven't been optimizing it to its fullest potential. So sit back, grab your cup of tea or coffee, and get ready for an amazing episode. Hey, you amazing human. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Angela. Great to be here.
Oh my goodness, it is always so fun to be around you. I mean, how epic is it that we get to hang out again today and record this awesome podcast, considering only last week we were in Sydney together, both delivering keynote speeches at the BX Networking Group. And I just love hanging out with you. We've already been talking for 25 minutes before we hit record. And I was like, shit, we better hit record because we both have calls at 10. So lovely to have you here, my friend.
Mate, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Now, today we're going to be chatting on LinkedIn for lead flow and sales. But before we jump into this, can you share with me a little bit about what do you do for business so that the listeners can get to know a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so my name's Rana Saini. I run the Expert Project, and we help consultants scale to 500K with less than 20 clients and 2 support team. I just believe in helping clients create profitable businesses by doing what they love and doing it in an effective and efficient way, so that business doesn't burn them out. They earn good money. They feel like they have a great purpose in life, and life's good. And obviously, we use LinkedIn because we work with consultants. LinkedIn is a very primary channel for us, and it's something that we teach. Yeah.
And listen, you speak my language. You're very much about family time. You're very much about living a life of purpose. And those are the similar values that I also have. And I just think it's really refreshing to hear that, especially because so many people don't look at that. It's always about where's the next dollar. And you've got this beautiful blend that you do between making money and doing things, but also just spending time with your family. Now, you mentioned LinkedIn, though, for consultants, and I know that's your zone of genius, but LinkedIn can be for pretty much any business. Would you agree, disagree, or does LinkedIn not serve a particular industry? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so what I find with LinkedIn is I look at LinkedIn like a database. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is you can go into something like Sales Navigator, or you can run a search, and there is probably groups of people, or there are filters that you can use. And if your audience is on LinkedIn, then there's an opportunity on LinkedIn. I find that if you're selling products, for example, like if you're going to be selling candles or small goods, LinkedIn is probably not the best platform. But if you're selling professional services, or you have experience and expertise and you package that up and you sell your advice for money, LinkedIn is an amazing place to network, which is essentially what it is. It's a professional networking platform. So you can expand your reach and your reputation and generate more business, or at least get more eyeballs on yourself and what you're doing.
Love it. And I know over the years, just like with any platform, whether or not it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, etc., it's changed over the years. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts about where LinkedIn was a few years ago and where it is today?
LinkedIn, where it was it was very basic, and it came down to three things. It came down to your profile. It
Mm-hmm.
was just about your profile, and you could optimize your profile, and then you would get rankings. And a lot of people back in the day were talking about, profile SEO or LinkedIn SEO. So you use keywords to rank ahead of your competition. You'd be found easier because LinkedIn is a search engine as well. And obviously Microsoft is a big investor of LinkedIn. So once you optimize your profile, you can show up in Google and Bing and search engines. So it gives you just a little bit more access to other platforms. It was also just the algorithm of LinkedIn was average. So it was pretty one-dimensional. And there was two ways that you could generate business on LinkedIn: optimize your profile, post content that really, no one really knew how to make it reach, because I think LinkedIn was confused as to whether it was a recruitment-based platform where you could advertise for work, or whether it was a social media platform where you could develop your brand. And the only other way you could do it is by reaching out to people, which is where LinkedIn started to get a bit of a shitty name for itself, because everyone's like, I open up LinkedIn and all I do is get spam, crap. And that LinkedIn was very basic like that. And I think it's come such a long way because of technology and also because of the marketplace. And there's things like nowadays the algorithm is a lot better. I find I can get more reach and engagement on my posts. There's things like LinkedIn newsletters, LinkedIn events, LinkedIn lives, LinkedIn groups are actually a little bit better. And it's easy to build up professional assets on LinkedIn that you can leverage now. It's not as good as, say, Facebook, but I think that's because when I say it's not as good, is in the ads platform isn't as good as Facebook, and the algorithm's probably not as good, but it is a very powerful platform if you can use it right.
I love it. And I'm very big about people being able to understand that there's different platforms for different people, and that's what I wanted to bring you on today, to be able to show people that you might be missing out on numerous opportunities by not leveraging LinkedIn. And that's why, again, we're going to now dive in though to flows and sales, right? So lead gen. And it's like, who doesn't love lead flow and sales? I mean, you and I freaking love it, right? And I think most people would love it. That's what gives us the freedom to be able to live the life that we want. So how can businesses effectively leverage LinkedIn for lead gen then?
Yeah, well, I mean, first, let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of people get really offended with LinkedIn because they get spam messages or people messaging them, right? Like no one likes that. But at the end of the day, we are exposed to so many offers as consumers every day on every platform: Facebook, LinkedIn, email, SMS, cold calls. And I have this saying that just blankets it, and it's, if you don't have a strategy for how you use LinkedIn, you become part of someone else's. And so, don't be upset if you've accepted connections from people that you don't know and you haven't had any purpose behind the strategy that you're deploying. If you're just going with feel, you're going to have other people who are targeting you. And that's just the name of marketing. We're all consumers. We're all targeted all of the time in many different ways. And so with lead gen on LinkedIn, it comes down to probably three things, right? There's three principles. One is people won't engage unless you're active. And so on LinkedIn, you've got two ways to do that. One, look at your profile. What does it say about you? When your person comes to your profile, is it just about who you are, or is it about what you can do for them? So like a landing page, optimize your LinkedIn profile so it speaks to the outcome that you create for your audience, not just about what you do and how good you are. And there's a number of different ways in your profile you can do that now through featured sections and all that sort of stuff. We won't go into the technical, but that's the first bit, right? Second bit is, once you've got that and you're active, people won't engage unless you're active. People won't show interest unless you ask. So there's ways that you can do that. When you start connecting with somebody, rather than just go, I'm going to send you a message and just try to get you to buy my shit, just send an introduction like you would normally at a networking event. Introduce yourself and ask a question about them that's very easy to answer. I often say, ask a question that's not yes or no based. Ask a question that is a number or a word based. So, how many people are in your team, for example, or how many opportunities do you generate a week through your marketing, or You know, how many, you know, you could just ask like, how long have you been in business? Like questions that have an answer, right? Create a conversation. Don't just push for the conversion, and conversations precede conversions anyway. So optimize for that. Optimize for conversations and you'll make more sales. So that's the second thing. People won't show interest unless you ask. So ask. And then people won't buy unless you solve. And I think often as consultants, there's two things that are really important, and this is on LinkedIn and every platform, but one is articulate. So it's how well you articulate the offer that you've got and how clear it is that you solve a problem that they need. And the second part is demonstrate. So articulate and demonstrate. How do you explain, show, and help them understand how you can solve their problem? So they go, I need you to help me with that problem to get to that outcome. And so on LinkedIn, getting people, connecting with people, starting a conversation, transitioning the conversation to a call and being able to have a call where you can demonstrate what you do is the name of the game. And you can do that at scale because your LinkedIn profile can reach a lot more people in a lot less time than you going out and spending your time at networking events. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's about maximizing your time and your reach to generate the outcomes.
100%. And what I love again, this is why we're probably friends, is that you talk about like conversations, right? And I have a thing called the 3 C's where I'm like, conversations equal connections, which equal conversions. And it's not always necessarily just a conversion, because just because it's a no now doesn't mean it's a no forever. And just because they might not want what you need doesn't mean that there's not a way. Again, you know, you and I do a lot of partnership stuff together, that you can't partner together to then help each other grow in business. So conversations just open up the door to so many beautiful different gateways, but yet so many people are so reserved to even start those conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Now, one of the other things that you talk often about, and so obviously we've talked about how to effectively leverage LinkedIn, you know, make sure that your profile's there, make sure you're not just like spamming, make sure you're engaging in conversations. But obviously, you talk often about like content marketing and the role that it plays with driving lead flow. So talk me through this, because I suspect that, again, we need some level of strategy around our content marketing, because if we're just throwing spaghetti at a wall, it's not going to work. And LinkedIn will want things done in a certain way versus like what Facebook would. So tell me a little bit more about the content marketing strategy and how this, you know, goes hand in hand with lead flow.
Yeah, I think lead flow, if what I was speaking about before, is very one-to-one. So it's very hard to leverage that. And what I find is content is it gives you scale. So it gives you thought leadership at scale. And often people are very scared to share content because they're worried about what people will think and how they'll react and whether they get someone who doesn't like them. And so we focus on problems that don't exist yet, and that stops us from becoming great thought leaders. And I think the more you know you have value, the more you need to put it out there into the marketplace. And content gives you the ability to do that. So when you're connecting with people, just look at it from an algorithm perspective. When you connect with someone, you have the most visibility for that person at the moment you connect. If you don't create content and put out regular content, you lose the opportunity to have that person or your audience get to know you. And what I found with content, it's kind of like a magnet. It's not something that gets people to buy straight away. But if you're consistent with content and your messaging, and I often think about content in a couple of ways, like people try to split it up. They're on LinkedIn, I share this, but I don't share that on Facebook. I share more personal stuff. I just be me, right? So I let people know about my philosophies, about my principles, about my personal, like some of the things I do personally, some of the things I do professionally, some of the results I get for clients. They're the kind of areas that I try to hit. And what that does is it creates a more three-dimensional version of you. So when people get to a call with you, they feel like they already know you. And that being said, you can also then put content out using LinkedIn newsletters. And that's a really easy way to promote, to turn your connections into subscribers. So you can put it into the newsfeed, it goes out, and you can also do it as a newsletter, which goes out to people who have chosen to subscribe to your LinkedIn newsletter, and that ends up in their inbox. So, and with content, I often say, you know, Ange, if you're a good writer, write. If you love doing video, do video. It just make the barrier to creation as low as possible. because your advantage in the marketplace is to create, because 90% of people are consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be a thought leader, you have to move from consumption to creation.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're playing the game that 80% of the marketplace are playing, which is consuming.
Mm-hmm.
So LinkedIn is just a great platform to get your thought leadership out there, and content's a really good way to do that.
Attention, women in business, get ready to ignite your success and elevate your game. Join me for an exclusive 3-day Women in Business conference from October 31st to November 2nd at the breathtaking Gold Coast, Australia. Designed exclusively for online business owners, service-based business owners, coaches, consultants, and course creators. What to expect at this amazing 3-day Women in Business conference? Expect an immersive experience filled with fun, empowering keynote speakers, interactive workshops, networking opportunities with other successful business owners, gain valuable insights, forge meaningful connections, and leave inspired to take your business to new heights. 12 speakers have already been announced, with 5 more speakers being announced shortly. We have Steph Taylor joining us, Anita Seek joining us, Lisa Cordiff joining us, and not to mention Maddie from Sound Healing Australia, who will be there for the most magical sound healing experience ever. You do not want to miss the event of the year for women in business. To secure your ticket, head to angelahenderson.com.au today. And so if people are like, okay, LinkedIn might be somewhere that I want to go. It sounds good. Happy to test it. I understand some of the strategies that I need to do. I understand how the content marketing goes into play, do things that, work best for me. How would you then, how do people measure the success of LinkedIn with their lead gen efforts, for example?
Yeah. Okay, great. So I can get sort of a little bit technical here. You look at LinkedIn as a pipeline. It's what I call a top of funnel marketing strategy, right? Which means you're reaching people who are not connected to you yet. They don't know you. Middle of funnel, they have some level of, you have some permission from them, and they have some connection to you that they've chosen to have. So LinkedIn's top of funnel. And what that means is the goal is to just get people to, when you connect, obviously the people who accept your connection, I often look at that as a percentage, right? So first thing is, what's your connection percentage? So if I send out 10 connection requests, how many people accept it?
Yeah.
First thing. So that's going to let you know how fast you're going to grow your audience on LinkedIn. Okay. So that's the first thing you want to track. Second thing is, once you've got that audience, you just send an intro message. And an intro message could sound something like this, Ange. You could go, hey, Ange, great to connect with you. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you do in business. I saw you, maybe just take a moment. You can do 2 things. You can check what they've done and go, I saw you spoke recently. That looked great. I think trying to be authentic at scale can be quite difficult. So ask a question that you may be interested in that leads to the conversation that you want to have. So when
100%.
people say something like, oh, Angela, I see that you are in this business, and I see that you like, the color pink. This is great. Haha. Now, as for me, I do this. I think ask a question that leads you to a conversation. So for example, hey, Ange, great to connect. Just curious, how many people are in your team? The reason for it is, I actually work with entrepreneurs like you to help them optimize their operations and create more leverage. If that's ever of interest down the track, let me know. I'd be happy to have a chat. Stay in touch, and again, great to connect. So it's the same kind of thing I'd have is if I met you, Ange, at a networking event, I'd probably ask the same thing. How long have you been in business? How many people are in your team? Because I'm wanting to understand how I might be able to help you, and you're probably doing the same to me. So there's nothing wrong with being strategically curious. And I think then you look at what percentage of people respond, and that'll give you an idea of how good your message is. So if you go, well, I send 100 messages and I get 20 people respond, that's a 20% rate, and you can track that. And then based on that, you say, well, listen, if you send out the next message you should send out, you could ask directly a more direct question, which would be, hey, Angela, would it be worth jumping on a call and having a look at your team and how I could help you create more leverage in your business? Question. Now, if you say no, perfect, all good. If you say yes, then we can have a chat. And I would look at that. How many offers do I make each day? This is the number one most powerful metric. How many offers do I make each day, and how much interest do I get? Track those things. I made 100 offers and I got 10 people, 10% response rate. So what we're going, just to answer your question, we've got connection percentage. That's how fast you're going to grow your audience.
Yep.
We've got being curious. Okay. So like, okay, well, send a message, try to start a relationship, be strategically curious, and then ask if someone's interested. And the worst thing that's going to happen is people will say no, or they'll disconnect. In the same way, if you send an email out to your audience, you still get people who respond to you and tell you to piss off. You still get people who
100%.
unsubscribe, and you still get people who say no. We've just got to know that, again, what are we optimizing these platforms for? Are we optimizing these platforms to be liked, or are we optimizing these platforms to create opportunity? You can't have both often.
Yeah, 100%. And the reality of it is I can hear, and some people going, oh, I don't know about this, but the reality of it is it comes down to a numbers game, right? It really does. The more connections you potentially have, the more conversations you have, the more whatever, you cannot not make money. But a lot of people have that resistance because they're like, this feels yuck. I feel like I shouldn't sell to them. But the reality of it is I have to say, is selling is simply serving. You get to serve your awesomeness to these people. And by you not serving your awesomeness to these people, AKA what you have on offer, you're not only hurting yourself and your family, but you're also not allowing them to grow whatever it is on fitness, LinkedIn, do you know what I mean? Consulting, coach, whatever. So it's like, sometimes I think people have to get over themselves and just know that this is a tool in order to help us grow, but also allowing us to be able to make an impact.
Well, it's also like, I think if you believe you have something that can help people, and you believe you have something that is, well, let's just take money out of the equation for a second. You just believe you've got something that can make a difference in a specific type of person's life, for example, a consultant's life. If you believe that and you decide that I'm not going to talk about it as much because I don't want to upset people, it's a lose-lose game because less people know about how you could help them. So less people find other solutions that are subpar, right? And you don't grow your business because you don't have the volume of interest that you could have. And then you start doubting whether your business is even good. And then your belief atrophies, and so does your opportunity.
100%.
So it's a lose-lose game. So what's the downside of asking more questions more often? The downside is that you get people who say no, and you get people who maybe 1 out of 1,000 will have a bad day and tell you to piss off. But the upside is much higher by doing more than it is by doing less. So, like it doesn't make sense when people lean into the emotion of rejection. Because all you do is you play small to please others. And you don't grow by playing small to please others. You grow by expanding your belief and by playing a bigger game to create bigger belief that creates a bigger container for yourself to enroll people into, and also to believe that what you do is great. Can't play small and grow your business. Doesn't
well,
work.
I mean, it is, but then you're growing your business to what you want, or you're limiting yourself, right? So it's kind of like,
Correct.
and again, and what I often say all the time is whatever you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yeah,
Choose
I
not
love
to
that.
do this, and this is going to be the result, or choose to do this, and this is a potential result, right? Like the choice is always yours. But I just think that mindset, regardless if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, is so often people, they show up on the platforms, but then they don't actually close and ask for the sale. They're like, oh, I'm too scared. Oh, it doesn't feel right. I'm like, no, man, like selling is simply serving. So I want to kind of change just a little bit in regards to LinkedIn, and I'd love to know what your advice is. I'm a big tester. I test a whole bunch of things. Last year, I tested partnerships where I did 121 partnerships. This year, I'm testing 2 things, speaking. So I've got 30 speaking engagements this year where I'll test to see what the ROI is and what does that look like. I'm testing doing a white paper also. But one of the things I continue to avoid doing myself is LinkedIn. LinkedIn and I aren't friends. I mean, it's probably why I haven't had anyone come on the podcast. I've been podcasting for almost 6 years, right? But because I trust you wholeheartedly, I'm like, no, man, people need to hear about this, because just because I'm not we're not friends LinkedIn, and I doesn't mean that someone else could be missing an opportunity, like that they can't be friends with it. So I'd love to know your advice. Like you said, the platform has changed over the years. Every time I continue to be in your space and when we can meet up, I'm like, okay, I'm getting close to LinkedIn, right? But I'd love to know what advice you would give to someone like me who genuinely knows I'm probably missing out on leads, but just can't get past that bad taste in my mouth. Like with like the ickiness of people who are doing it badly. Is it just kind of like, again, does it go back to my own mindset where it's like, you're just going to have to let water go off your back and just, this is how it is? Like, what advice would you give? Because I do think people listening are missing out on lots of opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I'd ask, Andrew, is what's created a bad taste in your mouth with, say, LinkedIn?
Yeah. So for example, like when I go on there, I'm like, yay, 500 new messages. And then I'll go through the first 10 and they're just so unauthentic, you know? And I'm just like, okay, and this is why I'm not here. And then I'm off versus like, you know, I like just a general conversation, right? So then I'm just like, oh, I was like, this feels hard. It doesn't feel in alignment. But even though I know there's opportunity, so I just feel like when I go on there, I haven't been able to find a way where I find for me that it's helpful, and that people aren't spamming. Whereas when I'm on Facebook, it's like, for example, I know you've been in Italy and I'm like, oh my gosh, how cool was Rana's trip to Italy? Or I'll see our friend Jackson and he just ran this really cool race, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I feel there's like this connection where I feel it's just like hard, hustle. That's just what I see. But I know tons of my friends, including you, that do so well on LinkedIn. So that's where I'm like, what am I missing?
Well, I think every person's resistance requires a different solution, right? So here's what I'd say. If we take the platform, whether you like a platform or not, we can both agree on the same thing, that reach and reputation creates acceleration, right? Mm-hmm. So the more people you can reach and the more people know you do good work and or what you do and they like it, the more opportunity you're going to get. So we can all agree that that's the case. So if you just think of LinkedIn like a distribution channel, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, okay, well, whatever you share on Facebook, share on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Whatever you share in your emails, because I see your emails or your events, share on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. First thing I'd say is just start sharing stuff on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. The second thing I'd say is find your audience on LinkedIn and just start connecting with them. To send 25, 30 connection requests, build your audience on that channel so more people connect with you and see you, and that becomes an audience asset. Mm-hmm. And if the thing that gets you, like makes you go, oh, is seeing the messages, I often say the closer you are to the fire, the more you feel the heat. The reason why I don't check my marketing emails or respond to my marketing emails or go into my LinkedIn and I get a team member to do it is because I lose energy when I read the responses of people who are operating at, and this is maybe sound judgmental, I believe a lower vibration than myself. Mm-hmm. Yep. As a leader, I have to keep my vibration and my energy as high as possible because creation is the number one thing that I get paid to do. Mm-hmm. If anything takes away from my creativity, it's costing me money and opportunity, and I can't afford that. Mm-hmm. So looking at LinkedIn messages and emails, I have a team member who does that at a lower rate than what I would charge to do that. Yes. And so I have the strategy and I get it deployed by someone who isn't me. So I'm not close to the fire. I don't feel the heat and they don't care enough because they don't take it personally because it's not their business. Yeah. So it's kind of a win-win. Yeah. So what I would suggest if I was, say, for example, you or anyone listening is, first thing, just start building an audience. Second thing, whatever you're doing on any other platform, put it on LinkedIn. Who cares? Mm-hmm. Don't watch it. Don't look at it. Just do that. Second thing is get an introduction message. So whenever someone connects, just respond back to them nicely and offer to help them if they ever need to, but let them know what you do. Yeah. And the third thing is after about 10, 15, 20 days, ask a question that leads to giving them something of maybe of high value that's low risk. So it might be like, I've got an event coming up or I've got a recording from an event on this. Would you like free access to it? Mm-hmm. So at least what you're doing, Andrew, is building your warm database. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is all I would do, and set that up and just have someone else run it. And at least you're creating that channel. And I think for anyone listening, it's like the same thing goes across any platform, right? Whatever I send an email, I'd almost do a post on Facebook, and I do the same post on LinkedIn. And distribution is the key. So reach, reputation equals acceleration. And I know that the more people I reach and the more people who know what I do, the more opportunity I'm going to attract. So, yeah, and for your market as well, and knowing who you are, especially doing women in business events, there's like women in business groups on LinkedIn that you can target. And man, like that in itself, you could just do a campaign just to women in business, and those people would be hot. Because it's such an aligned topic, and it's tens of thousands of women in those groups.
Yeah, no, so good. I mean, again, it gives me feel again, and when I say I'm not on LinkedIn, like we push all of our content that we do on any other platform over there. We've got like almost 4,000 followers, like I see people interact with like I'm on there now, just scrolling, going, yeah, we've got interactions. People open up the newsletters we send. So we do dabble, but there's no strategy, right? It's just like push this over here, do this, and that's it. So again, every time I talk to you, I feel like you inch me a little bit closer and a little bit more closer because again, if I'm testing things, I feel I haven't tested it to be fair to it, right? Whereas I've tested Instagram, I've tested Facebook, right? And I haven't tested it. So maybe 2025 is the year of LinkedIn, and I will test, and see what that experiment comes out. Now, this has been awesome. So for the listeners wanting to connect with you, because like I said, I only bring on experts who I know are good people, know what they're talking about, and that is you in this space. Where can they find you?
Yeah, if you go to expertproject.com and there's a button on that front page called free training, you can find me there, and there's like a free 5-day challenge, and it just talks to you about LinkedIn and how to shape an offer that helps you get a little bit more success with it. Run through that training, or just reach out and say hi or connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I hang out on both. But yeah, like I hope whoever, if you're listening, you got some value and some gold nuggets today. And Angela, thank you so much for having me.
No, absolutely. And there's one final question that I always like to ask everyone, and this is it. Looking back on your business journey, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started out in business?
What do I know now that I wish I knew back in? Okay, I would. I would look at, okay, what I know now is that more is not better. Simplicity scales. You do not need more stuff to be more successful. It's like if you start with one offer, focus on making that one offer as great as possible, as compelling as possible, and you just focus on one thing until you crack 7 figures. Stop trying to do everything to meet different expectations for different people to get different opportunities, thinking that more opportunities will help you grow faster. Because what it does is it distracts you and derails you from the simplicity that's possible and the profit that's possible in your business.
And I love that. I say often, I think one of our podcast episodes is literally called Simplicity Scales. It is the one thing that I talk about all the time, so I can appreciate that. Stop overcomplicating it, focus on one and scale. You know what I mean? It's not about doing more.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. Well, my friend, as always, it's so fun being in your presence. I look forward to seeing you again soon. But for you, listener, right now, I hope you have a beautiful day, no matter where you are in the world. And don't forget to leave a review, reconnect with us over on Instagram at Angela Henderson Consulting. But most importantly, just smile and have an amazing day. Thanks again, Rana.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Angela Henderson Online Business Show, www.angelahenderson.com.au.